Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming today. This is WASHOKU-DO, the World Japanese Cuisine Show, Washoku Symposium. At various stages, we have heard lots of presentations and speeches. So this is going to be the final session for today. We are going to invite on the stage Mr. Seiji Yamamoto of RyuGin and a chef, Mr. Akrame BANALLAL of restaurant Akrame, to have the session New Trends in Washoku, Creation of New Tastes and Cooking Techniques. The moderator of this session is the chairman of Tsuji Culinary Institute, Mr. Yoshiki Tsuji. Presenters, please now come up to the stage. A warm round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let me start right away. So today we have here with us Mr. Seiji Yamamoto. We are going to show you a 15-minute video, what sort of cooking techniques he is promoting overseas. And the remaining 10 to 15 minutes, we are going to see new cooking trends. And then Mr. Akrame's turn, a 3-minute video, and 20 minutes he's going to demonstrate his cooking. So, Mr. Yamamoto, please start your video. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yamamoto. Many of you probably don't know me. I have a Japanese restaurant in Roppongi. I have 3 branches in Asia: Tokyo head branch and Hong Kong ICC Tower, which is the 5th tallest building in the world, and 101 first floor, and Taiwan last year. So with the 3 overseas branches, we have Asian representation, RyuGin. So you might be interested in looking at some of my branches and restaurants. So I'll spend 5 minutes to show you my restaurants. Well, this did not go very well, but it starts now.
というお店を。
So I have 3 restaurants, as you saw in the video. So to make a long story short, I would like to be brief. I'm going to talk about lots of things. I went to lots of academia and conferences all over the world. Well, a difference between Japanese cuisine and others. So it's about the approach to the same ingredients. So it's not a matter of nationality. It's a different approach by chefs. So I'm going to use wild duck. So it's now season of GBA. In Japanese cuisine, GBA itself is something unfamiliar. So among meat dishes, the culture of eating wild duck, wild animals, we have that in tradition. So how we are going to include this in the Japanese cuisine, whole whale in French. So this is my interpretation and understanding of the process. So I'd like to show you this. This is wild duck. So I never use duck that's shot by gun because it's damaged and blood is drained and damaged. So I never use ducks that are shot. I pluck the feather and then use paraffin in a container. So basically melt the wax. And what I'm trying to do is to just pluck and get rid of all the feather. So water birds, you cannot use water to remove feather because they are floating in water normally. So you fix it with wax like this. That's what we do. Then you crack it and take it off. Then all the feathers gone. All the feathers removed. If you use your hand to pluck, you imagine the futon, so there will be feather and hair all over the room. So that's how we do it. And you dip it in hot water so that the skin becomes firm, and then cool it immediately. The reason is because we don't want the heat to be transmitted into the muscle. This is liquid nitrogen spray. We use this to cool it down to minus 196 degrees Celsius. And this is the most important point. Water birds, they have glands to produce oil near their bottom. So we want to make the skin crisp, but if you just dry it, it doesn't get dry like chicken or pigeon. So what we're doing here is, you cannot see it, but we are putting thin layer of wax, these bumps. We are burning it. We're burning these bumps, only the bumps. So before the heat goes into the muscle, we use the cooling spray to cool it down. So we cool and grill, and the process is repeated. Okay, so this is the tongue. We are using short brush to scrub off the dirt.
After this, we are going to dry this for 18 hours. We can completely dry it. If your duck will not get completely dry, people say that's a lie, but you will be able to make it very crisp. But unless you get rid of that film, you are not able to get the real dry duck. Creating a film here. And this is the red meat part of the wild duck. What I'm doing is does not need any explanation. This is red meat, and onion confit, and guts of the wild duck, and only a part of the guts is sautéed and put it in the ball. The red meat is rather hard. Probably it's better to make it as hamburger-like texture. And by using the bones, we get the broth, kombu, water, and sake. Just like getting the broth from turtle, water and sake in the same quantity. Ginger, garlic, and the little green onions are to be added to give an aroma or smell. And try to get rid of the leaves and make it cold and make the oil parts solidified with soy sauce and salt. This is the oil part. Catching the duck is the place where there is the paddy fields after the rice was cropped. There is the muddy quagmire type of the place. And we try to make the skin very crisp. We can only sear, but by using the coil of nitrogen, we cool them up. But it is only gas, so it doesn't make any sound. If you cool it by ice, there is no splash because of this. And with the gas in the oil bath at 60 degrees, 58.5 degrees is the desirable temperature. So humans are more skillful than the machine. So we can just count on this person. I trust this and try to scrape the oil. So I was asked where they sell those cold black paper. What are you going to do with this black paper? And we will fire it like this. We don't have to keep it for some time, just like they are bathing in the oil. And try to use the stick, like a brochette, and this is the straw we use. We get the straws from the paddy field where the ducklings were caught. For the red meat, just like katsuo or searing, just like a bonito searing method, I apply the same method for duckling. And we use the charcoal, and so we broil them with the salt and pepper. At that point in time, the skin gets very crispy. We say it gets cracked, just like a cracking of the glass. Start to slice it. So this is one size of a bite. So if you ask somebody to cut it, you never know the size of the cut. Sometimes if you poke it with the fork, depending on how you poke it, the juice might come out. You cannot take responsibility, so I have to cut this because that is my responsibility, so that each guest is able to eat each bite slice by slice. And also there will be the shabu-shabu and broiled duckling. And juice can be utilized as the sauce. There is no sauce. Instead of adding that, I want you to appreciate what this duckling is telling you. It is now in public domain in YouTube. I hope to disclose more of those to the public. I'm asking the other chefs in the world, I have created this menu. What do you think about that? So what I'm telling you today is the best of what I have experienced. I am not recommending the best way, but this is how I feel the best. This is the part of the wild duck. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have had your duck. So with the blood sponge-like and cracked glass-like meat, I wanted to appreciate the texture, and they have utilized both Chinese, Japanese, and Western technique, and they are available on YouTube, how you slice them. And all different techniques are communicated from Japan to the world. I think this is the rare case. I don't think there is anybody else who are doing that. Now, in the remaining 5 minutes, would you please demonstrate what you are planning to cook? I wasn't quite sure. Probably again meat, sukiyaki. Sukiyaki? Are you sure they have come all the way and to see sukiyaki? The real sukiyaki. The green onions, another green onions, and shungiku vegetable onion, and also the oju and beef. That's all. You know sukiyaki. So you can have the picture of sukiyaki. Would you please make a comparison from the other picture your adjacent person has in their brain? There must be some difference. What the sukiyaki means. Putting the sukiyaki in the course is a very difficult job because sukiyaki is something which is served as the independent dish. So it is impossible to complete a sukiyaki as one of the courses at the best situation. And how sukiyaki can be served at its best is something I want you to appreciate with this. Shall we start? Shungiku, chrysanthemum leaves. We will cut them into pieces. This is raw. Green onions. Just slice them like this. And this is the core part of the onion. The external white one is sliced into pieces, and you keep the core. The next one is the western onion. You slice them like this. And we try to put it in the oju and put it in the vacuum bag. And this is what we get from the bag. A rather gushy onion, raw. What about the oju? What is contained? In our RyuGin restaurant, we use this. This is the sugar, but meeting, we try to boil it and make the volume to half in IH stove. And this is how you make mirin, condensed mirin with soy sauce and try to get rid of alcohol. You boil it separately. And we are going to use this as the oju of sukiyaki.
So let me demonstrate now. Green onion, the core of it. So the core of the green onion that's sautéed like this here, as you can see. And if you cook meat, there's oil, so put green onion, core of it, and then saute it together. Let's just take out the lard. And then this is sauteed by cow fat, and this is made into puree. of green onion. So that's been prepared. So this is warishita. This is boiled mirin and sake and soy sauce mixed. And then it becomes a little bit thick. So putting starch and making it this texture, and then put onion into it. Okay, and then mix it all together. So this is oju, sauce, or warishita. So as soon as you put it in your mouth, this flavor already is very sukiyaki. So this is warishita, so stock mixed with soy sauce. This is the stock normally we use, but this is already sauce. So the good flavor of green onion and meat is already mixed into this. So this is very easy to make. So please try at home. So this stock warishita is okay, like this. Next is meat. This time, this is Sanuki olive beef. So what it means is that when you harvest olive and then squeeze it, and then the remains are fed to cows. So cows are eating olive. And we use this meat. That's only because I was originally from Kagawa Prefecture, that's all. I forgot to tell you this. This is the powder of green onions. The white part of it is minced and then fried in low temperature. They made it into powder, ground and made it into powder. So this is garlic too, so we use this too. So now returning to meat. Meat is put into warishita first, well, soaked only for 2 or 3 minutes. Just like this, so that the base flavor is contained. So you're going to use sauce later, but you use different warishita to do this. The reason is because the charred flavor of soy sauce is part of the good flavor of sukiyaki. So that's why I want to do this, so that when you grill it, you have that flavor. Now this is raw onion in warishita soup. And this is white onion. And this is koto, a green onion. It's also called yasoka green onion. This is very thin green onion. I think if you have eaten puffer fish, it normally comes with this type of green onion. That's it. So at this stage, 3 different types of green onions are mixed in a bowl. So normally, if you have sukiyaki, you try to enjoy the different flavor of different vegetables and ingredients, but this is more integrated, isn't it? Yes, this is not the nabe style. So this is just a complete taste. This is like a main dish, and it has to have impact. So try to achieve the best flavor here with this single dish. So this is the 4th different type of green onion again. So mixing different green onions. So that's what it's made as a result. So we use selko. This is vegetable. Well, this is a mixture of 4 green onions, and then spread like this. Well, I'm making it a little bit larger than normally what we do. This will fill you up. So, have you served this at your restaurant? Yes, this is exactly the same as what we serve at RyuGin. What about the popularity? Yes, it's good. Good. Well, we did not have any briefing, so I do not know what questions are going to come. Now, I'm going to grill the meat. This is lard. Well, this is soaked in warishita for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we grill it just for an instance. Oh, can you smell it? So, no matter whoever sees it, it smells like sukiyaki. So we grill only one side to create the aroma. Let's do another piece. Oh, we have to grill it now, because otherwise the resulting product is not really clear what it is. So by grilling it, it makes it truly sukiyaki. So it depends on personal taste in terms of the thickness of the meat, but I'll explain later why it has to be this thickness. So the side that is not grilled should be on top. Then put it in the bowl. That's it. Then half-boiled egg. Boiled egg, scoop it, and put it in the middle. So I put the poached egg, and then this is green onion puree marinated with warishita sauce, and we put it on top of the egg. No spices in it? No, not at all. Not flavored at all. So is that sweet or bitterness? Both. When it's raw, it's bitter, but this is sautéed, so it's sweet and it has depth of flavor. You should not eat too much of it. This is powder green onion. You sprinkle with it. Then on top of it, koto green onion. So the reason why I wanted to do sukiyaki today is because everyone knows sukiyaki. So when I say sukiyaki, you probably have a certain image of sukiyaki in your head. And so is this the same as your imagination? I think it's different. So that's what's interesting about sukiyaki. So if you're invited to dinner and someone says, okay, so today it's going to be sukiyaki party, but when you go to the party, you discover something is different from how you would do at home. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. Everyone knows sukiyaki, but depending on which family, which home, everyone needs different sukiyaki.
Can they copy them at home? Yes, of course. I'm not interested in being copied. If I'm copied, it has more values. And that means my technique and my culinary techniques were very much appreciated by the others. Unless they copy, there is no appreciation by the others. Probably don't use this in the restaurant next to RyuGin. Yeah, when you go to Osaka, one restaurant declares we have nothing to do with the adjacent restaurant. And this is shiso leaf. Is it for the color or for the aroma? And this is for creating the aroma. Can you see it well? And then, using this, at home, we use this sukiyaki set. Lard, ceramics plate is used. We picked up cellophy and place it on the hot plate. Like this. From here onwards, we will ask the person to service them to cook it for you. So we will bring the whole dish in front of the guest. And this is how it is brought to the guest. The service person is going to give the service. I wonder whether you can hear the sounds. Sorry, you couldn't. The dish itself was not hot enough. Sorry, but I was not able to make a sound. This is the chrysanthemum leaves and sprinkle over the top of this meat. Voila. And it starts to boil in front of the guest. And as for further firing, the guest is able to check the boiling level depending on the taste. They can tell by the color of the meat, and they would be able to start eating once they recognize that it's done. Sukiyaki is a familiar food, but this is also a very unique dish. That's something I wanted to emphasize. Whenever there is an opportunity using the liquid nitrogen, this is the dishes which can make the development and evolution in the brain of the guests. From heart to heart, we hope that we will be able to communicate the spirit of Japanese cuisine. Sorry, I have to run very quickly. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Akrame-san, you have the floor, please. Akrame-san, you will start with a video, right?
Akrame というお店をやってらして、今ミシュランの2
They have the restaurant Akrame with the Michelin 2 stars. There are a lot of commonalities between what they make in Akrame and Japanese culinary. Every morning he goes to the market and tries to purchase the ingredients, and just like the painter, they draw the wonderful picture. Michelin tries to evaluate the authentic dishes. He's not an artist, but still, he is going to create the picture on the plate. He was recognized by Michelin in Paris. He seems to be the only one who acts like an artist, yet to be recognized by Michelin. Phil Daniel, LP, in those places, 2 years respectively, he was working as the chef as an apprentice.
私はもうフランスの方に学校があるんですけども、
We have the
フ
culinary
ランスのデモン
school
ストレーションに来ていただいてですね、
in France. I have invited him as the demonstrator. Without any recipe, all the ingredients became available. And in front of the students, he demonstrated all those different ingredients without any recipe. He presented 4 different meals, and the students were very much surprised. You haven't started the dishes yet? Would you like to start?
料理なしで料理します。はい。Tout d'abord, bonjour à tous.
Good afternoon. I am so happy that I'm here in Japan. When I was invited to come to Japan and asked to create one dish, yes, I use my imagination to its best to create a wonderful dish. I have never created this and served this in my restaurant. I do have the special technique based on my sensitivity. I try to put my emotions and sensitivity in the dishes. Although there is the technique without the emotion, there is no value. We try to instill the spirit. This can create the impression and impact and excitement amongst the people. I hope to create that from the deep part of heart. So I will create one dish by using Wagyu spontaneously because I'm here in Japan. Japanese cuisine is very important for Western and French cuisine and culture. I hope to utilize those Japanese ingredients combined with the Western French philosophy because both of them do have the appropriate level of the values. They can be unified and integrated in a fusion. Wagyu, and I use rice. Another one I brought is lardo from Coronard village. It is prepared in Italy, taking for 6 months. This fat portion is retained and matured in the marble. I will use the rice. Please take a look at it. Which would you like in the Japanese cuisine? So I think about what ingredients I'm going to utilize. This is not out of the accident. So I admire the Japanese cuisine because all the Western and European chefs can receive a lot of inspiration from the Japanese chefs, and our work, our job, and those have to be reviewed. Let me start. First, just briefly, I want you to take a look at them. Wagyu. This is a very special meat, beef, very high-end, just like the Rolls Royce of beef. I use rice. This rice is, I'm going to cook this rice. Why don't you do this? And this meeting, we are going to cook it with mirin. Is this the appropriate quantity? 1.5 times rice, 1 mirin, 1 and water. So we are going to start cooking. What are the things you want to communicate with this dish? The message I want to communicate will be, I don't know how to call it. Let's see how I can call this dish. Fusion of Japanese and Western or French cuisine. started to boil when it's finished.
特に日本の技術を標榜しようとしているわけじゃないんです。
Are you going to utilize the Japanese technique here?
Alors moi, copier, je n'aime pas. Parce que
I don't want to copy the technique because it can be utilized as the inspiration, but I am not going to copy them as it is. Cross-borderly, where you are in Paris and France, I do have a restaurant there. Inspiration is something which has to be cherished. By using the local ingredients to the best of my ability and have the respect to the ingredients, I am going to start cooking. So please warm it. I'm going to use wasabi.
ce qu'on a fait en fait, c'est-à-dire que dès que le riz est cuit, on l'a passé au tamis.
Once rice is cooked, we have put it in the strainer and sieve it. And you can create the paste like starch-like material after some boiling process
On l'a assaisonné avec du wasabi
with
frais.
seasoning, with fresh wasabi.
Donner de la texture.
By so doing,
Aussi ce côté
the way you taste in the mouth will be different. And also the hot spicy taste is added because of this.
on a un problème technique, hein, désolé.
So, excuse me, we have a bit of a technical problem here.
Bon, alors ensuite, on a mis donc cette
Next,
préparation ici, on l'a mis en poche.
like this. This is a small bag
On a
here.
aussi donc utilisé
Tube to squeeze. This is black garlic in Japan. I think this is a great food material because, first of all, it tastes like it's fermented, and that's very interesting flavor. In France, this fermented flavor is not available. So in my cooking, gradually, I want to make sure that the flavor will slowly change as you enjoy my dish. French customers, if for them to understand the essence of Japanese cuisine and the flavor, they should get used to something like this. But it has to be harmony and good balance.
Et on a mis pareil dans une poche.
Now put it in this squeezing bag.
L'algue nori. Donc l'algue nori,
And then we use seaweed too.
j'ai voulu travailler sur cette algue parce que c'est une algue
So the reason why I want to use the seaweed is in France,
qui est rentrée dans les
this seaweed is consumed a lot. This is part of our day-to-day food. So people understand what this is. So as a food ingredient, I want to make sure that I include things that French people understand and know what they are.
frire donc le riz. Donc on a
So now this is rice.
une pâte de riz et bien sûr
I fried it
pour nous donner
like this. This is rice paste.
dans le plat.
In the dish, it's very crisp. The texture is very crisp. That's what I wanted the rice to have, as you can see here.
Donc là,
Just like this.
c'est important parce que
So this is very important. When I make one dish, I really pay attention to texture. So the important thing is when you put the food in your mouth, all the things, flavor, texture, and then taste, everything has to have good harmony and balance within your mouth.
et donc on a eu bon, échalote
This is eschalot. Eschalot is available all over the world, apparently. And this is shibret.
Coupé comme ici.
This is thinly diced green onion and eschalot, diced into small pieces. In France, this may be called classic a tartar steak of beef. Then mix it with wasabi mixed rice paste as a base, and then rice will be made into rice puff, and then it will be packed with coronata lard, and then I sprinkle on top of it bamboo charcoal powder.
La planche, elle est où? 13 minutes? Ouais, c'est bon. Donc voilà, donc là on coupe donc de la même épaisseur. Hein. Donc, alors le tartare de bœuf.
Okay, so making it the same thickness slices. So French tartar, beef tartar steak uses the yolk of egg as a filler. And then we don't want to make it greasy, so I use eschalot and rice paste, and then cognac root vegetable sometimes is mixed in France. So maybe you can add some sake at the end of the process.
Alors, avec la viande française, je n'ai pas encore essayé.
Well, tunic of France, I've never tried using it before, so I'll try when I go home. I think it'll be different. Result will be different. So the good thing about Wagyu is when I eat Wagyu, it has very rich and different flavors. It has a flavor of hazelnuts. That's what I really like about it. So these fine flavors. So this is red meat. Now I've made tartar sauce here. Then I want to add smoke, like texture like smoked meat. So I'll use gas burner, just a little bit.
Juste au-dessus comme ça.
Just to grill the surface of it.
Voilà. Donc là,
that's it.
une fois que c'est fait. Donc là,
now when it's done,
l'assaisonnement.
I add
On va mettre la ciboulette.
flavor shiblet first. This is a very simple recipe. Eschalot. Just like this. So mix it a little bit, and then next. Yes, that's right. This is the binder or filler, so that everything will be integrated. Then I need a sieve. Okay, so bind all the contents, and then put some salt, pepper, there you go. Then, of course, we have to put meat on top of manaita, this wood plate. I think this is the best to put meat on. Now I'm going to serve it. Serving and presentation is extremely important too, as you know. We often hear this. Cuisine has to be delicious and at the same time has to be beautiful. In French, bon and beau. So delicious and beautiful. Now, this is going to be the final moment. On top of it, as you see, on top of it, I am putting rice puff that you saw before. So by putting this, it enhances the crisp texture. Now, next. So, preparation. He said this is the first time he is cooking this dish. This is the first time he's really cooking this, including the preparation. This is coronata pork lard that's sliced very thinly to put it on top of it and on the side as well. Next is sauce. So we need a bit of texture in the sauce too. So I use coronata. Well, it's not strongly flavored because coronata village lard, that's what it is. So this is the lard of pork. Like this, when it's done, just apply heat, use the burner just a little bit. By doing this, the top surface becomes like this. Then, on top of it, sprinkle. And then, in the same way, this seaweed is extremely important because by adding this, yes, like this. So this is my personal understanding and interpretation of Japan and my interpretation of relationship between France and Japan expressed as a dish or cuisine. So this is more beautiful than what Japanese people would do.
C'est vrai, mais alors pour moi l'esthétique est très important.
Thank you. The places are beautiful, the dishes are beautiful. You taste them and you appreciate again. And if it tastes good, presentation can be also at the same time appreciated. When I started out, starting from apprentice, I put the importance on taste and basics to learn the authentic classic dishes. And next, I followed and tried to search the beauty. But the taste comes first. But you cannot replace taste with the presentation and beauty. As the additional feature on top of the taste, there has to be the beauty. Thank you very much. Please give the big hands. We only have 5 minutes. So I was going to have the session, but we only have 5 minutes. So one question, one burning question. Maybe I can ask the question on behalf of the audience. Mr. Yamamoto, as the technique related to Japanese dishes, the constitution of sukiyaki, they try to redo sukiyaki from completely different perspectives. And I was very much stunned by this technique. locally, technically, and historically. Are there any other things that you can reconsider and give a different life to it? Can you reconstitute this technique? Is there any other alternative ingredients or local produces, just like sukiyaki? That is the first question. And also, Akrame-san, I believe you have given the first try. So rebuilding of both Japanese taste and French taste inside of the mouth. How do you think you will be able to restructure and reconstitute those different tastes into the mouth? And this is also the same question to Mr. Yamamoto. Another question, Japanese ingredients. Are there any Japanese ingredients you think you will be able to utilize or you think you want to utilize very badly? Now, Mr. Yamamoto, please. So whenever I am asked that kind of question, what are the messages I want to communicate to the guests? Things I would like to communicate. Are we going to extract that message? Are we going to keep this? And are we going to keep this pure part and try to extract the purest part out of the dish? There has to be a very good balance, and this is going to be the reconstitution of the taste. We both use the same beef, but even if there is a border in the ingredients, no border in the food. So we are not going to differentiate from one genre to the other. Rather, for example, poisson or fish, we use mostly in the Japanese cuisine. Sashimi, you cannot create sashimi, but the feature of sashimi is inside of fish, how you slice them. Most respectful one is not the technique, not the things that humans are able to create. The bamboo shoes, beef, maybe half of them, those can be created by the human beings. But in the nature world, there are things you are not supposed to do as the humans. So between ingredients, raw materials, and human beings, there has to be the very good relationship. By asking those relationships, continue to ask them, we try to get the answer, and this one is for sashimi, and this one is for the soup in a bowl. We are not going to continue the same menu, but making the change. And don't try to kill the animals unnecessarily. We have to return them back when we eat them because it can give us the flesh and blood, and it can give us the comfort by enjoying those fishes. And the life has been reconstituted inside of humans once it is consumed through the chef. How are we going to be involved? Is it going to be through the articles? Is it going to be texture, temperature, or through the feelings? The involvement of us as the chef in the ingredients is going to be the relationship and connection, and that can create the reconstitution. So it's not that you create a new technique. As long as you cherish the basic philosophy, probably it's not that mere taxation is not going to be the priority. In the case of washoku, You do not try to ask the question like, how come you come up with the size? Because my boss tells me to do so. So you have to ask yourselves, you have to have the reasoning why you are doing that, even if we are wearing the same uniform. When the doctor says, when the patient comes in the surgery, if you cut it 5 centimeters longer, you will kill the patient. I don't want to be beaten by the doctor. If you have to come up with this size, then I have to follow that. There are so many patients who are dying for wonderful food. They come as the patients to our restaurant, and they want a cure. I'm just preparing the prescription, and this is the prescription because this is the disease you are suffering from, and you are dying for excellent food. That is the reason. I'm sorry, I don't know whether I am responding to your question. But new techniques will be created. It's possible, right? Yes, that's correct. So would you like to respond?
Do you want to repeat the question?
Moi, je dirais brièvement que
Well, I'll be brief.
les techniques japonaises,
In fact,
très important pour nous. Les produits
Japanese cooking techniques are very important to us. Japanese food materials are also very important to me too, because Japan is a wonderful country, at least to me. But there is culture and history and tradition and terroir. Many chefs come to Japan, and that has meaning because they want to understand. So things that have been passed down over generations in Japan, what we can learn from them, go to traditional Japanese restaurants, what we can learn and what we can see. What's important to me always is there may be techniques, but one thing we should never forget is cooking is love, to do something for other people. As Mr. Yamamoto said, we provide fun and enjoyment to our customers. So at the restaurants, when customers come and enjoy their time and they get moved and inspired, that's what we want. So at the restaurants, what we can do is things that they cannot do at home, we provide at the restaurant. That's our job. That's what we aspire for. Cooking without love is not cooking. So it's not answering my question. Both of you did. Neither of you answered my question. But that's okay. One more thing. So what would be Japanese cooking techniques or food materials that should be utilized more?
S'il y a des techniques en France qu'on peut mettre là-bas.
Okay, talking about like techniques that we can learn and implement in France. Yes. Well, how to grill, how to use heat, I think using fire and temperature and fermentation, and then palatability, deep flavor. Japan is the best in these areas. And how to marinate. So all these things for us, we have to be able to good enough to incorporate these techniques for the sake of our customers and clients. If we cannot incorporate them well, then we'll ruin the techniques of Japanese cooking techniques, as Mr. Alan Duca said before. Japanese chefs are trying to be open and welcoming us so that we can come and learn, and then sharing with us all the techniques and experience with us. So in France too, we should be open too. So we should be open to each other and have exchange so that Japanese techniques and others can be exchanged. I only mentioned 3 or 4 things, but I think there are much more. Okay, thank you very much. A warm round of applause to the 2 presenters, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry for going slightly over time. Thank you.